Tonight we're gonna return to talking about the paramitas, the 6 paramitas, and we've touched on this 3 times so far over the months, and as it goes, we'll probably finish by September. So that's a nice pace. And each time I've done one of these, I want to kind of set the table generally for what the paramitas are. Most everybody knows, but I always want to assume that perhaps it's a good refresher for some of you, and maybe some have not heard much about this. So in Buddhism broadly, and Zen more specifically, we have lots of lists of things, and it can be overwhelming if when you encounter them all. It's pages and pages. 12 of this, and 8 of that, and 10 of that, and 4 of that, and 6 of that, and 3 of those, and 3 of those, and 10,000 of the other things. And when you're getting started in this practice, you might have the notion that, shit, I got to learn all this. How am I going to remember all this, let alone what it means? So don't do that. There's no need to do that. It's a lifelong practice. Some folks here have been looking at and thinking about studying and practicing with these things for years, and it takes time. I mean, even if you were to sit down and intensively study the paramitas for a month, it takes years to really let it bubble and percolate and kind of get its hooks into you. Not even looking at my notes, I'm trying to ad-lib a little bit here, but like the precepts, the 10 grave precepts, there's 10 of those. In some schools of Buddhism, there's 5. And it's like, okay, can somebody please decide? But like the 10 grave precepts, I look at the paramitas as being mirrors. Mirrors, and I use this metaphor from time to time, but something that I can look at and see what I'm doing in relationship to it, and get a sense of where I'm at. Am I being a selfish jerk? Am I being impatient? Am I being stingy? And they help kind of illuminate those things. This term paramita translates as perfection. So these are, in English, the 6 perfections. And a lot of commentaries position these as being a description of the qualities of what an enlightened being looks like and does, how they behave. This notion of perfection is pretty interesting because none of us is perfect, and Suzuki Roshi had that beautiful quotation: "You're all perfect, exactly like you are, and you could use a little work," or something like that. I'm paraphrasing a bit. It doesn't mean we can't undertake to practice with these or these reflections of who we are. These are tools that we use to wake up. We're kind of taking it on faith that whoever came up with this, Dana Paramita, the perfection of generosity, whoever came up with that, maybe they knew what they're talking about. There's a bit of faith in there. I don't know. But I take it, I trust it. And I think that's for each one of us to kind of decide whether we do or not. I'm not a big faith guy. I approach it kind of cautiously. Nick and I have had a couple of pretty good conversations about faith in the past. So these are things we get to use our whole lives, and we're never going to get it perfectly right. We're flawed human beings. We're holy messes. And it's wonderful. And we keep trying to do the best we can. Inexhaustible delusion, right out of the Bodhisattva box. So these 6 in English are generosity, ethical conduct, patience. We've talked about those 3 so far. One we'll talk about tonight is joyful effort, or virya, meditation, and understanding. Understanding, translated back into the Pali, is Prajna Paramita. We all say that every day. We say it numerous times during a service. And it'll be interesting when we get to that one, we can talk about what is Prajna Paramita. It's the 6th paramita, the perfection of understanding or wisdom. So tonight we'll talk about this 4th one, Virya Paramita. And some of the translations of this word, Virya, come over as energy, or zeal, or vigor. The word virya linguistically is tied to virile, not just in a masculine sense, but gender neutral, really. Most of the time, and I'm sure this is true for all of us, we're not monks. Most of the time in my life is not spent sitting on a cushion. It's up doing stuff. I'm standing, I'm sitting, I'm walking, I'm lying down, working, cleaning, caring for my body, sleeping, swearing. That takes quite a bit of time. Eating, obsessing, regretting, fearing. I was afraid to come down here tonight, just because I have trouble moving around. I'm terrified of falling down. So I spent some time doing that. That's some of the stuff I do. And most of it doesn't feel like it takes effort, unless I'm depressed. And then even brushing my teeth feels like a heavy lift. God, I have to do this. I can also go through all this stuff completely unconsciously, just like an automaton. Brush my teeth, obsess, swear a little, eat a little. I'm Irish, so I'm good at that. Or by rote, just by routine. You do this stuff for 72 years, and you got it down. You got this stuff wired. So you don't have to put much energy into it. You can kind of sleep through it, kind of mechanically. It's hardly mindful. It's hardly joyful. So this practice and this particular paramita is about turning that round and interjecting energy and zeal and virility into everything, fully inhabiting every single thing we do, including brushing teeth, including swearing. It's fun to lean into that, not in mixed company, of course, usually on my back deck by myself. Watching a movie or hanging out with friends or listening to music or whatever it is might seem effortless, but can I really say that I'm always doing those things energetically and joyfully? I'm fully inhabiting those things. It might be a stupid movie. It might be a complete waste of time. But really get in there and waste some time. Let's really do that. doing those things mindlessly, sometimes we refer to that as rest. Oh, I'm just resting. I'm just kind of spacing out doing this thing. It actually is depleting. It's not energizing, it's depleting. And we do need to sleep, of course. We need to really, really rest. So take a nap. Don't do two things at once. Don't watch, Beverly Hills Cop and think that you're resting. Really dig Eddie Murphy. Really get into it. Speaking of movies, my kids ask me, and they don't even live here, and they know, on a regular basis, have you slept through any good movies lately, Dad? Because I'm notorious for phone. Sandy and I will be flipping movies, and she goes, and I say, hey, what about this? We saw it. What about that? Oh, we saw it. Where was I? But much of every day, I don't know about most, some portion of every day I'm called to do stuff that doesn't seem so pleasant. Might be tedious or repetitious, difficult, or tasks that come with some social baggage or duty, like family responsibilities, or dealing with difficult people in your work. I work for a Zen organization full time, and one might think, well, there must not be any difficult people. I'm here to tell you, it's a hotbed. Politics, power dynamics, all that stuff. How joyful and energetic can I feel taking out the trash, or paying taxes, or because I can't feel my hands sweeping up broken glass in the kitchen because I dropped the glass, which I do about twice a month. How joyful can that be? There's a koan. How many of us have had to attend family functions that turned into an emotional food fight? How joyful is that? Or have had a job where the boss's son is promoted over us and doesn't have a clue what he's doing, but he's Teflon. This practice of Virya Paramita calls us to enhance everything we do, all of it, every moment, joyfully. And it's really worth, when we all leave, it becomes tomorrow and you're doing stuff and hopefully maybe remember a little bit of this. It's really worth examining all the little nitnoid stuff that we do during the day and think about, well, that too. Am I really doing that too? And what about that one? I don't like that one so much. Yeah, but let's pay attention to it. Let's really inhabit that one. Right out of the Bodhisattva vows. Numberless creations I vow to receive. This is Virya Paramita. Energetically receiving everything that comes. Even if it's crashing my car on the way home tonight. Even if it's LA. We say this a lot. We say that this practice is just breathtakingly simple and the hardest thing we'll ever do. And it's because of that. It's because there's all these things that we have a chance to receive. We really don't want to. We really don't want to. Because they hurt, or they smell, or they're uncomfortable, or they're dying. Omnipresent Dharma gates I vow to experience. There it is again. Virya Paramita. So all my tasks, all these things I talk about, and all the things you guys do all day long, these are all these Dharma gates. These are all opportunities to charge the doing of it with Virya Paramita, with energy, virility. Jinkyo Renge Sensei of the White Wind Zen community said, not long ago it was night, and now it's morning. Not long ago we began this Dharma assembly, and not too long from now, it'll already be over. Not too long from now, someone will be listening to the recording of this Dharma talk, and I'll have been dead for years. It all happened so quickly. The grayer ones here among us are getting more and more aware of that. Speak for myself. I won't look at anybody directly. This happening, this activity, this exertion of the reality of impermanence is all that is ever going on. Our practice is the practice of opening to this reality and realizing it as part of our own natures. So, you know, when I work at my job and writing reports or doing analysis, or like I was today, working on, you know, budget stuff and or leading meetings or whatever, you know, whatever we do, and doing the routine tasks that I need to do to maintain my life. Fix the car, pay bills, clean the bathroom. Like I said, they don't naturally feel joyful until I really bring myself to them. And you'll surprise yourself. Take some shitty task that you really don't want to do and really just give yourself over to it. Just surrender to it. And it just changes completely. Virya Paramita. Really often I'm anxious for these things to be completed so that I can, you know, fall asleep to a movie or something. I can see myself doing that. You know, I'll be washing dishes and I'm thinking about the next thing I need to do because there's a thing right after that I need to do. And then I can screw around. And I break a glass. So I can hear, I just wrote these down as examples, but I can hear myself saying every one of these things. When this is over, I'm going to kick back with a beer. Whose idea was this? This way of doing this is stupid. I'm not doing this. What is this guy talking about? He's wasting my time. You may be thinking that right now. Oh look, she assumed I would do this. Typical. What am I, the maid? Why bother with this one? I'll never get it right. Those are all ways to not do Virya Paramita. They're great examples of how not to do that. They don't sound very joyful either, do they? Sound like if I did that a lot, I'd get to the end of my life and I'd go, man, how did I get here? I missed it. I missed something along the way. So how do we discover and embrace joy even in the midst of our mundane lives? And most of our lives are pretty mundane. To be sure, we do need discernment. We make choices. There are things that we ought not do, or there are times when we're called to engage and change the course of group activity and try to get things to go a different direction. This joyful effort is not intended to make us automatons. It's not intended to make us just go along with everything. This goes back to 3 tenets, where there is the third one, where we get up off the cushion, stand up, and walk out onto the street and do something. That gets tricky, to have the discernment to know when that's the right thing to do and when it's not the right thing to do. People in LA are having to figure that out right now. If I'm honest with myself, most of my mental objections and internal arguments are frivolous and they're really without merit. They're really just ways to avoid the present moment. Because it's uncomfortable. Because it's mundane. Because I think I'm smarter than this. I shouldn't have to do this stuff. How'd I get here? So this Virya Paramita is not an exalted state. It's a description of one aspect of enlightenment, to be sure. But it's not lofty, it's not up there or otherworldly. And it's not a final achievement. It's as gritty and real and immediate and visceral as it could possibly be. It's right here in our guts. Nothing magical or spiritual groovy about that, other than maybe there is. It's a moment-by-moment practice that calls us to be still, to pay attention, to rest in the current moment, fully present, without judgment or any of this chattering commentary that I've got going on all the time. I was inspired to put together this series by Norman Fisher, whose book, really spoke to me. The world could be otherwise. And it's about the paramitas. And he said, the Bodhisattva practice of joyful effort involves energetic activity in the pursuit of goodness. This means specifically effort directed toward what is loving and beneficial, toward what expands the heart. Oftentimes I think this joyful effort, this energetic approach to what we do, can be defined by its opposite, which is laziness, I think. I don't know, that wasn't a Norman thought, I think it was mine. Laziness may appear in me as sloth or couch potatoism, but more often it shows up as avoidance or frenetic but distracted activity. That can be lazy as well. If I'm really bouncing around from one thing to the next, thinking that I'm really productive, that seems to me a form of laziness, because I'm not using the energy to do this thing now. I had a note in there that was really about putting this together, which I did some time ago. And I knew I wanted to sit down and make notes and read Norman's book another time and kind of get organized and break it all out and all this. And I lined up a whole bunch of other stuff to go do first. Computer was open, I named the document and the whole thing. And there it is. And I'm gonna go do this. I really avoided it. Another more powerful and clever impediment to realizing this Virya Paramita is depression or self-doubt or persistent negativity. Seems to me. These are, by the way, these are all just my opinions, so take it with a handful of salt. Other than serious clinical depression, that's not what I'm talking about so much here, kind of the run-of-the-mill depression so many of us experience, but which that certainly should be treated. A lot of us experience this garden variety: lethargy, listlessness, and I'm unwilling in myself, and unwillingness just to stand up and go do the thing you know you need to do. And I'll sit there and obsess over it for a while. I'll even run little movies of it. Since I was worried about walking around, I ran a little movie in my head about walking up the stairs to this building. But fortunately there was Parker. I mean, it worked. It was magical. Parker was right there, and you know, we got to chat on the way up the stairs, and all of a sudden I was up the stairs. It didn't hurt, I didn't fall down. So how do we face up to these feelings and recover this joyful effort? And these are really, really basic suggestions, but I think they're all actionable, and I think they're worthwhile. Get enough sleep. Eat well. Exercise if you can. And if you can, enjoy it. Get outside. Interrupt your routines and your preferences. Take the long way home. Eat dinner with your left hand. Sorry, with your opposite hand. I realized I was being handed. Do something you think that you don't like. Remind yourself of your goodness and your value. Not just as an idea, say it out loud. Amazingly powerful to say that out loud. Sit, study Dharma, talk to people, avoid isolating. Engage if you feel like you are kind of pulling back. Do one thing at a time consciously and just do it. Nike was way ahead of this. Practice smiling while you're doing stuff. I think that might even be a Thich Nhat Hanh practice. Some of you know. Pause before you begin a task and say to yourself, this is the very most important thing I can be doing in my life right now. Talking to you guys right now. Even then, we do get knocked down. It's normal. And Norman refers to the inflatable Bodhidharma dolls you find in Japan that have sand in the bottom. And you punch them and they go down. Some of us of a certain age probably, I had a Joe Palooka that did the same thing. I guess he was a professional boxer. But we beat the shit out of that guy. And he came back every time. Poof. And we had a Bozo the Clown too. Same idea as the Bodhidharma dolls. So you whack this doll and it falls backwards, and as if all in the same motion, just kind of effortlessly, it comes back up. Norman refers to this bodhisattva irrepressibility as fall down, get up. All one word. Fall down, get up. As one continuous movement. It's an inspiring image. It leaves no time really for festering or wallowing. Woe is me. No time for that. Fall down, get up. In the Pathless Path, Master Hanzon Hoshin shared this verse I just think is beautiful and really apt. It is not that this arising is a matter of here plus now. Here is now. Now is here. It's not a matter of place. It's not a matter of time plus place equals our experience. It is now equals here equals is. But this is the exertion that you must release yourself into in order to realize who you are, he says. Without the exertion of you releasing yourself, Nothing is realized. Nothing is real. All that you have are stories, descriptions, presumptions, and fixations. He says, by releasing yourself into capital T, that which unfolds itself as everything, which arises everywhere as everything. Right now, you realize this arising. You are the realization of this arising. Without the exertion that needs no one to do it, that is done by no one at all, but is simply exertion, exerting itself, nothing would arise. That one's worth reading a number of times. That kind of goes around in circles. But it, you know, it takes us right here. It takes us to the fall down, get up. Continuous. It's continuous. Finish your meal, wash your bowls. Put your shoes on the shoe rack. Square them away. As Norman reaffirms with each of these paramitas, he says that there is actually no perfection of joyful effort. He knew he was going to get to that part. And no such thing as Virya Paramita. Seen through the perfection of understanding, the sixth paramita, we see that things just as they are, empty, boundless, groundless, and lacking any fixed existence. Nonetheless, we practice joyful effort. There's a verse by Tokme Zonpo, goes like this. Listeners and solitary Buddhas, working only for their own effort, practice as if their heads were on fire. There's some virility. To help all beings, pour your energy into practice. It is the source of all abilities. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. So I'll wrap this up. I'd like to say the study of this paramita is so rich and so deep, and I've only touched just a little bit of it here. On, if you haven't read Norman's book, do. It's really, really good. He goes much deeper, and he's a poet, so he does what I can't do. He goes down into layers and aspects of joyful effort that we have the time for, such as desire, vow, integrity, courage, and hope. So I hope this was helpful for everyone. I thank you for listening.